The Addiction Podcast, Point of No Return, sponsored by Narconon Ojai.
Hello, and welcome to the Addiction Podcast, Point of No Return. My name is Joni Siegel. I'm the host for this podcast. Today's episode is number 175. We are well into our fourth year, and we thank you for listening. My husband, Steve Siegel, is the producer for this podcast. This week, we have a very interesting interview with a gentleman named Casey Armstrong. You may know his name. Casey Armstrong is probably best known for being part of the Howard Stern Show. After he played his fifth season with the Western Kentucky football Hilltoppers, he was offered a job working for the most talented radio visionary of all time. He worked with Howard Stern for 7 years. After he was fired by Infinity Broadcasting, the years to follow would be spent in some of the darkest places one could imagine. He was homeless in California, living in a car. He did irreversible damage to his health. He was admitted to the hospital over 40 times from complications due to alcoholism. After getting clean and sober, he founded his own radio station, WMAP, which stands for World's Most Amazing People. His definition of amazing is someone who gets through life with dignity and some sort of integrity and also helps other people. Let's talk to Casey Armstrong. Casey, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I really appreciate you being willing to share your story with us, and I've read a little bit about you, so I'm excited to hear from you.
Hey, thanks so much. I am so excited to be here. I know that your program helps a lot of people and answers a lot of questions for people that are probably looking for answers. So if my story can help anybody, then I'm totally cool with doing this, and very excited too, because you guys are amazing at what you do. So,
well, thank you. That's very nice of you. So, Casey, the way I like to start this is, how did you get, your main drug of choice was alcohol. How did you very first get started with that?
Well, I guess like most kids do. We used to screw around with it when, we'd have sleepover parties at I guess second or third grade or something like that. Maybe somebody would steal a beer or something from their fathers or something like that. But that was never a problem. In high school, it was never really a problem. College, that's what college people do. They drink. But when I turned around 30, 33, that's when the game totally changed.
And what happened that the game changed in terms of alcohol?
See, I've always had, I'm sure a lot of your viewers and listeners can identify with this. I've always had horrible depression. And, when life doesn't work out the way you want it to, sometimes the thing that we go to is a drug or a drink or whatever it may be. And that's kind of what happened to me. Around 34, I had a relationship, and again, everyone can relate to this. You use relationships because in one of the rooms, somebody told me one time, there's nothing more narcotic than falling in love, right? I thought that was brilliant. So, after my last relationship with the woman that I wanted to marry, that didn't work out, and then I hate to say it, but I kind of wasn't myself. I kind of gave up, and that's when this started.
Understood. Were you working for Howard Stern at the time, at that age?
No, I had been fired in 2005 or 6, and then they fired me because of my behavior, and a lot of it had to do with substance abuse and drinking. I was suspended for a while, and they did the very kind thing. So they put me into a program where you'd have to go and you'd have to do the test, and you go to groups and stuff like that. And after maybe 6 months of it, I thought that I could go back to doing stand-up comedy, and I thought I could do it sober. To go to a weekend in Boston, I remember sitting in the group saying, "Hey guys, listen, I'm thinking I can do this. I'm thinking that, I've been sober for 6 months or whatever it is. I think I can do this. I think I can go and do stand-up again." But I had never done stand-up sober. I had always, it represented a time where you're backstage. You had, I never got into like the hard drugs before stand-up or anything like that. It was always drinking because it's tough to go out there and do that. So when I got to Boston, I was supposed to come back for a meeting on Monday. I didn't come back until Wednesday. I'm not going to say what I was doing up until then, which was not something I'd like to tell my mom. And if you don't want to tell your mom, then it's probably not what you want to tell anybody. Right?
You don't have to tell me. It's okay. I'm a mom, so it's okay. You don't have to tell me. I don't want to know.
Okay. So I didn't get back till Wednesday, and then my boss called me on the phone. He said, "Look, you didn't make it on Monday. You're supposed to be going to these meetings. You didn't make it. So this is the end of the rope. So we have to let you go." And after that, see, when you're an addict, you don't think of the responsibility for your actions. You never think the step ahead. You want the pain to go away now. You want the problem or the anger, whatever it is, depression, you want it to deal with it now. And sometimes we don't think of what the consequence will be. And that was pretty clear when I came back. So from there, that sent me to my first rehab, where I drove to California, Newport Coast Recovery in Newport Beach, California.
Okay. And so pretty much the whole time you were working for Infinity Broadcasting, Mr. Stern, that whole time you had an alcohol problem, or?
What I learned at the first rehab was, they said it was more of a depression, and it was more that I was trying to self-medicate, I guess. And it was a depression problem, and I really didn't have a drinking problem, because as the book says in AA, they say, can you go and drink one beer, whatever, and can you put it down? If you can, then you're not an alcoholic. And
right.
I don't know if I believe that anymore. So I could do that.
Why do you say that? Oh, because you could just have one beer and put it down, like you didn't. Oh, okay.
Like those people where they have one beer and now they can't stop. It's done. I mean, they're gonna go beat to the wall. You know what I'm
exactly. But you weren't like that.
No. Oh. I not until I chose to do that.
Interesting. So, okay, so you went to the treatment in California, and what was that like, and what was the result of that?
It was great. It was what I needed, and I met some people there that were just kids, and I think you got to stop this thing before it gets to a point where, as your show says, the point of no return. I mean. And everyone is different, but I still don't know if that was depression or if that was my dependency on alcohol. But I define it as if physically you're addicted to something. If you're physically addicted to it, where you get the shakes, where you have to have it, I believe that's addiction. And a lot of people who say they have drinking problems, I feel for them, I pray for them. But unless it's affecting you physically, I think it's just a behavioral problem.
I think that makes a good point.
Does it make sense?
Yes, that does make sense. And there is, I was talking about this recently. There are almost like three different aspects to addiction. There's the physical part, there's the mental part, which in your case had to do with depression, and then there's spiritual part. And all three of them can come into play at one time or another, and all three have to be addressed.
It's so funny that you said that, because when I went to that first rehab, I couldn't get past step one, because at the time I didn't believe in a higher power. I guess I was still in it was hard for me to accept, step one. So I'm like, I'm not good at this either. But years later, I did become born again. But that doesn't mean you're not going to have a problem. So, So later on, that's when the problem started. And I know we have limited time, so I guess.
We have as much time as you want, Casey. Don't worry about the time, please. So you did that rehab in California, and how long was it successful for you?
It was. I found myself kind of helping some younger kids out that were younger than me. Built a weight room there. Showed them how to exercise, and I was still a kid too. I wasn't. I still had. It's when you lose. It's when you lose the ambition is when I believe that it will really get you, and when you give up. Mm-hmm. And I think some of your listeners might be there right now, and hopefully I can stop them right now because it will kill you. And I guess, I was great there. I mean, I was, making friends, I was social. I guess there was no physical addiction there. Mm-hmm. When I was at the rehabs. That came later when I decided to do that. Like, do you ever see the movie Leaving Las Vegas?
Yes.
I think that's the most realistic depiction of alcoholism that you can find.
Wow. That's a heavy duty movie.
I can't watch it without, I like to think I'm not a tough guy, but I like to think I'm somewhat of one, but I can't watch that movie without, I start crying in the first 5 minutes because that was me. I mean, that was what it was.
Okay. So you finished this rehab, and then how long were you sober?
Let's see. So after that, there was probably about 6 months.
Okay.
And then I went back to doing stand-up. I was doing stand-up while I was in the rehab. I was doing it sober, but then when I did it on my own, things changed. I thought I could handle it because, I was young. I could do anything, right?
Right.
So that was okay. But the part that gets where your listeners, or I think I might be able to help a little bit, is when I decided to make that a part of my life. When I got arrested in Alaska because I chased that girl up. Remember the one I told you about?
Yep.
The one I she broke up with me on a text. It's like, how could she do that? I mean, but if she sees me, she's gonna change her mind, right? So
I just have to go after her. I can make her change her mind. Okay, good.
Exactly right. A true addict, right? So so I go up there, and then she wants nothing to do with me. So I get arrested, and I spend 10 days in pretty much like a solitary Alaska jail. No one knew I was there, and that was bad. So I came back, and that's when it started, because then I no longer put any throttle on, stop the throttle on it. I was drinking in the morning, at night. Back then it started as a couple of those pints of vodka, right? Like Smirnoff or something like that. The Smirnoff and Svedka, I remember that. I remember what the bottle looked like. It tasted horrible, burned my throat, but first thing in the morning, it was like somebody drank a glass of water. You put that down, you throw up, and then you drink the second one, and you were ready to deal with your day, which you could somewhat deal with, I guess.
Right. When you were drinking like that in the morning, starting with a bottle of vodka, where were you working?
I was working for a station, not this station that I built later, but at a different radio station. And my job was just to come in and do interviews. So I had, I did half-hour interviews, maybe from 12 o'clock to maybe 5 o'clock. And excuse me. Yeah, that was just Casey. He's crazy, but he gets the job done, and everybody was happy with me, except when I had to go to the hospital. From what was happening, because your body cannot take that.
Right.
So I guess I started with acute pancreatitis.
Okay.
And that basically what happens is your insides can't take the amount of alcohol that comes in, and it makes your organs kind of digest themselves. There's two levels. There's a lipase and there's an amylase. If those levels go up, oh man, you are in pain. You are hurting. And when you have the addiction, it's very hard to just stop. I remember having the sweats and the hallucinations in the hospital when they're giving you the what's that called? I can't remember what. It's a.
I'm
it's
sorry,
a
I
pill.
can't help you.
Yeah. Okay. It's I'll remember it, but
Something to counter the effects of the alcohol.
Right. And they give you that, and that's supposed to, I guess it's like a methadone for a heroin addict or something like that.
Right.
If they still use that, I don't know if they use that. But, yeah, so I went on to get hospitalized over 50 times, being admitted over 50 times, because as soon as I was let out, hey, this world is the same. I feel the same. I just, I'm not doubled over in pain. So, this is
it's kind of a miracle that you're still alive, right?
With
what you've put your body through. I mean, I know from what I read, you have irreparable damage, but you're here, you're doing really, really good things. There's a higher power involved there, I would say.
100%. Yeah. And yeah, I do.
Yes.
Now I know that now. I wish I would have known it back then, but hey, with the time we got left, we should make the place better than we found it, right?
Exactly. Okay, so 50 times you're in the hospital.
53.
53. 53 times you're in the hospital.
Admitted.
Why wasn't there a 54th? What, we mentioned this, point of no return. What is it that you finally went, I have to stop? Because you kept not stopping. So what changed that?
It's a great question, and I'm going to disappoint you with the answer, because I bled out maybe between 30 and 50 times. I bled out. I thought, I don't want to get gross here with your listeners, but I'm going to try and say this. I'm on the radio, so I could say this on the FM radio without being actionable or anything. But I'm okay
because this is hardcore, and these people that listen, if they have any doubts about how dangerous these things are, speak freely.
Thank you. I started to, when I went to the bathroom, I went number 2, I started to see blood in there, and I'm like, I was an athlete, but I never had that. But, I've had a million concussions, and, it was just that I didn't think there was anything wrong with that until I get to work and everyone's telling me I look like a ghost, and I look sickly, and I'm losing breath walking up a half a flight of stairs. And I get up there and I'm out of breath, and I get on the air and talking to people, I'm out of breath. And I'm completely white. I'm white to begin with, as you see. But I looked, they say you look scary, Case. So one day when I went to work at the other station, I got done with an interview, and the girl I was with at the time was with me, and we were sitting on a bench in the studio or outside the studio, and she said, I'll get the car, because she was the one that told me I looked horrible. I'm used to people telling me I look horrible, but thickly it's different, right? So she goes and she gets the car, and when she comes back, I had fallen off, and I'm laying in an office building on the floor, right? So she calls the ambulance, and the ambulance comes, and they get me, and they bring me to the local hospital, and I don't really have blood pressure, so they couldn't put an IV in. So they had to use my jugular, right? So they had to put the IV through my jugular vein. And I can just remember, man, that thing hurt. I mean, because they tried about 10 times, and one person even gave up. They said, this is over. I'm done. and she left. And then someone else tried, and they got it in. And then a couple minutes later, I realized that I have to have surgery. So they wheel me in there. I've never had surgery before at all. I don't know anything about it. So they wheel me into the operating room, and I'm on this did you ever dissect a frog in high school?
I'm sure. I don't remember, but I'm sure I did. I remember the smell of formaldehyde, so I must have.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sure I smell like the vodka, but it's like it's a metal dish, and I'm laying on it. And I remember it being really cold, and the doctor says that they're going to have to go through, where your groin is. They're going to have to go through that. Yep. And snake all the way up like you're snaking the clog out of a toilet, and they have to go up, and they have to tie something, a piece of metal, around the pancreatic duct or something. I don't remember quite, honestly. So, but the thing was, I'm gonna have to be awake throughout the whole thing because of the little pulse that it had, the blood pressure, I guess. So I was.
They don't want to put you under because you might just die at that point.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You are listening to the Addiction Podcast, Point of No Return. For more information on the podcast, or to reach out if you have a story you would like to share with us, go to our Facebook page by the same name, or you can email us at theaddictionpodcast@yahoo.com, or go to our website, theaddictionpodcast.com, or call us at 727-314-7080. And please remember to subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts and give us a 5-star review. For more information on our sponsor, Narconon Ojai, visit their website at narcononojai.org. That's NARCONONOJAI.org. Or call 1-866-231-5924. That's 1-866-231-5924. Sometimes, the hardest thing about getting someone into recovery is getting them to agree to treatment. Bobby Newman, a certified drug counselor with 30 years' experience and an over 85% success rate as an interventionist, has created a series of 12 videos that you can use right now to learn every step to get your loved one to agree to treatment. Call 1-833-918-0008 today and say the word podcast to get a 10% discount. Or go to newmaninterventions.com and type in the word podcast for a 10% discount. This service comes with a free 1-hour consultation with Bobby. Best-selling author of Addicted to Dimes, Confessions of a Liar and Cheat, Catherine Townsend Lyon believes that addiction doesn't discriminate on who it touches. Her addiction required no substances and is just as dangerous as any other. So if you know a loved one or friend who might be a problem gambler, you can purchase her book, Addicted to Dimes, Confession of a Liar and Cheat, on Amazon.com and Amazon Kindle. Her ebook is now on sale for $2.99 and available in paperback, also on sale for $6.95.
So I just remember it hurting a lot and being real uncomfortable. And then in the middle of it, I told the doctor, I said, hey, can we take a break? I really need to use the bathroom, meaning I have to go number 2 really bad. And he goes, we don't have time for that. I said, I really, really have to go. And he said, just go ahead right here. I'm like, and there's all these people around me and stuff like that. And I knew that it wasn't normal. It didn't feel normal, but for some reason I really had to go. And normally I would never do that in front of a room full of people, but I did. And all of a sudden, up around my shoulders and the back of my neck and my arms all felt warm. It turns out that I had excreted all the blood that was in my body, pretty much. Wow. So I bled out. Yeah, and they were doing it at the same time. They were trying to stop it at the same time it was happening because they knew it was going to happen any minute.
Right.
So it turns out they put a piece of metal in there. I have a thing where I go on a plane where if I go through the metal
set
detector,
off the metal detector.
yeah. So they replaced every ounce of blood I had in my body. So I got someone else's blood. Maybe that's why I've changed. I don't know.
But that wasn't the last time. Was that the last time you were in the hospital?
No.
So
Even after that,
you still did it.
10 days, 7 days. Yeah, 7 days. Then I started up again. Because when you're out, you're still that same person, and you still got the same. Unless you get to what the problem is, you're going to be that same person.
Exactly. The alcohol or the drugs is the solution to the problem, and you have to get the problem. Yep.
Totally true. Yep. And yeah.
Okay, so after 53, I'm coming back to that.
Okay.
Why did you stop? I mean, what made you stop?
I would say that the people that I care about didn't need to see me anymore. They didn't need to see me go to hospitals. The only relationships I had with people was and I never wanted anybody to come into the hospital, but if for some reason they found out I was there, they would come in. And a lot of people don't have anybody, but once I got to see that, that's not a way to live your life. It's you got to be around good people. All right. If that is, if you find it in AA, if you find it in your church, if you find it helping other people, if you find it at soup kitchens, whatever it is, you got to be around good people, and you have to do something different.
Yep.
And I'm lucky because actually I found the replacement. Everything's a replacement. Everything's a distraction. I don't have kids. I don't have a wife. So I guess work was my replacement. I tried to build this station up with good people. It's the world's most amazing people. It's all about stories about people that have gone through horrible things in their life, but they've come out better and able to help other people. So I'm surrounded by amazing people.
I love that. You're surrounded by amazing people, so you get to be amazing too. Congratulations, Casey. No. You get to be amazing too. The fact that you're still here, the fact that you're doing everything you're doing, the fact that you are focusing on people who have wonderful stories to tell, you're focusing on amazing people. You got to take a win, Casey. You just have to.
I love that. That's a great line. I love that.
I'm telling you, you have to take a win.
Yeah.
Casey,
yeah,
did you do any?
Thing, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Did you do any drugs other than alcohol, or did you primarily just stick with alcohol?
I think I tried Coke maybe once,
Okay.
and prescriptions. I was on a bunch of them, but alcohol was what was killing me.
Okay.
It's still, I guess it is. You don't really. My pancreas is half of it is dead. It's calcified.
Right. When you stopped with the alcohol, did you just stop cold turkey? How did you do that? Because stopping alcohol cold turkey can can kill you.
Yeah, exactly. That and benzos.
Yes.
Alcohol and benzos can kill you.
That's right.
So I stopped in the hospital one time because I had this last surgery where I had this cyst that was on my pancreas, and they had it drained. So I had to be in there for about 2 weeks. And usually they say they get a couple teaspoons of fluid out of this pancreatic pseudocyst. But the doctors told me they got 1 liter out of it. And that was probably what was bothering me.
Casey.
Yeah, where was that when I was trying to make weight for wrestling? I mean, that was like a pound right there. I got to have that. But, so after that, I wasn't in so much pain, and a lot of time I thought alcohol was going to cure the pain, even the physical pain.
Right.
So
you didn't need the alcohol because you weren't in physical pain. So
because then it got infected, and I got down to 160 pounds, which I've been on 210. I played football at 210, and I stay around 200. I got down to 160 because my insides were infected now. So it's like either case, do you want to live or do you want to die? And, you know, just like I drank to die, I stopped to live.
You made the right decision.
Well, have you talked to my girlfriend? She'll tell you something different.
Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding.
So how did then, and you're working for a radio station, you were interviewing people. How did you end up with WMAP and all of these amazing people that are around you? How did you get down there?
Okay. So what happened was I was living in this house that I was renting out east, and in the back there was this little room that was all glass and looked out on the water, which was really cool. And I'm like, you know, this would be pretty cool, because after the station I worked for, the one I was telling you about, I'm like, well, why can't I do this myself? But now I want to just change it. So I'm going to be interviewing people that are like me, that not just drugs and alcohol, but people who have gone through these challenges. Like, for instance, the first person in my first book is Werner Rice. He was a guy in a concentration camp. He was a prisoner. He slept next to a dead guy for 3 days to get his ration of acorn soup. I mean, who am I to complain? Oh, I can't stop drinking. That guy couldn't even. He weighed 64 pounds. You know, so I keep getting inspired by these people all the time. One of them said just the other day, they said, if you went in a circle with a bunch of people and everyone threw their problems into the center, into the middle with everyone around, when everyone told their story about what was wrong, you would go back and you would pick up your own problems probably. So that, you know, stuff like that, I hear that stuff every day. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and my goal here is is hopefully someone can take some. I don't like to speak about myself. I don't. This is not what it's not my hobby to tell you my story, but I'm hoping that someone, because I've gotten you know, I got 9 letters through the books that I've written about. It's so awesome. I finally think that I've done something to make this world better. 9 people were going to kill themselves, and they said that somebody in the book made them reevaluate what they were doing and gave them another chance. And that's why I'll take a phone call from anybody.
That's amazing. I mean, that right there, 9 people were going to commit suicide, and you saved their lives, Casey.
I didn't. I didn't. It was the people in the book that did. But I put the book out, so I had something to do with it.
You get to take some share of that. I'm sorry. I'm going to give you some credit for that. I know you're not. I know you're not. And that's what makes it as good as it is, because you're not doing it for some kind of glory.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, how many people you think were saved because of your program? You know,
yep.
because of the different stories from different people. So you're amazing, and Steve is amazing. I mean, it's people making a difference. And what I can say, if someone's struggling right now, just do this once. Just go out and see how it feels to go help somebody else. See how that feels. Maybe you don't feel like you're such a piece of garbage to do that.
Yep.
Because I'm great at that. I'm great at thinking I'm horrible.
I think that's huge. I want to just say one other thing, if we can segue into it. When I was reading something that you had written about, it was kind of like an introduction to your books. You mentioned something that occurred that really showed some integrity on your part, where it showed a loyalty to Mr. Stern, or Howard Stern. Do you want to share that story? It's a good story.
Oh yeah. Wow. That's why you guys are so good. You do you do the research that we're all supposed to do. That's great. Yeah, when things were really bad, I didn't have a place to live in California. I was living in the back of a car, and I say in the book that it wasn't mine. So it was like this rental car that was what I called home for a while. And Denny's had a big bathroom, and that's where I would shower. And that's another book. I could tell you how to. But a guy offered me. He said, "Hey, you got any dirt on Howard Stern? I mean, can you tell me something that we can write a book about it, and I can get you $1 million." And at this time, I'm laying in the back. California. The sun is through the car, and I don't have gas to put the AC on. I'm like, man, $1 million. Wow, that'd be awesome. But I'm just not that guy. And I told him, I said, I got nothing to say. He's a human being. He's just like me and you. I got nothing to say. I don't have anything to tell you. Now, I found out later that that guy probably didn't have $1 million. And anybody who would be so morally bankrupt probably doesn't have $1 million. But
even so, you were in a position where probably a lot of people might have said yes.
Well, $10 would have been good at the time.
Yes. Yes. And you showed integrity. And interestingly, I was reading your definition for amazing people, and you said it's someone who gets through life with dignity and some sort of integrity and also helps other people. And I think that's a great definition. I think that's awesome.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, you're really good at what you do, and I can tell you're a great person. So, thank you for saying those things.
Well, thank you.
Really.
And as long as you realize you're one of those amazing people too, because you know what I always say when someone goes, "Oh, you do this, you do that," I always go, "It takes one to know one."
Okay, and that's, you know what, I'll believe that, because if you hang out, the friends, if you're an alcoholic or whatever, you hung out at the bar every day, and you go through something, do you think you could call those people? Where are they after you get sober? You somehow kind of drift apart somehow. So I love what you guys do. What you and Steve do is really cool, and it comes down to just, what's that saying? It's birds of a what?
Birds of a feather stick together.
Something like that, yeah.
But I always like that it takes one to know one, because that's that kid's thing, when you go, "Oh, you're mean and ugly," and they go, "It takes one to know one." So I always turn it around, and when someone goes, "Wow, you look really beautiful," I go, "Takes one to know one."
That's awesome, and it's true. That's a real thing. Yeah, I mean, when you got to stop putting people down and blaming other people, those are the people you should, say, wish them the best, pray for them. But you want to hang out with people like you and Steve.
Thank you. So listen, if someone listening feels that they have a story they want to share with you, or they just want to talk to you, how do they do that? How can they reach you?
They can email me at kc@wmapradio.com, or they can listen to WMAP Radio. It's WMAPradio.com. Also, I'm a member of this thing called Cooler Brands, which is an amazing bunch of people that are trying to help other people. And go to coolerbrands.com for that.
How do you spell that?
KULA brands.com. And that's how I got to know you guys, through one of the members there. Just really good people trying to help one another. And that's what you need. Anybody going through something bad right now, you can email me. I'll call you right back. I was talking to this guy who just read my last book, Simply Amazing Women, which, here's a plug.
That's okay.
Simply Amazing Women, you can get on BarnesandNoble.com, Amazon.com. It's called Simply Amazing Women. The first book is called Simply Amazing, the Special Authors Edition. But this guy from Ireland, all the way in Ireland, told me, he said, "Hey, I read your intro, and I just want to tell you how touched I was, and I'm struggling with." I'm not giving away any secrets, because nobody knows. The whole country of Ireland, if you're gonna pick out one person. but somebody was having problems with drugs and alcohol, and I said, here's my number, call me. And I've been checking up on this dude, and he's doing a lot better, and he's become my friend. So that's no prize, believe me. But look, if you're going through something, there's always somebody that will listen to you. You don't know me, and you don't know half the people that try and help people, but just reach out to somebody. You can't do it by yourself, man.
That's right. That's exactly right. Give your email again, and if you want to share your phone number, that's okay. If you don't, that's okay too.
Sure. It's KC, 2 letters, KC, at WMAPradio.com. And for anybody who's struggling, and I'm going to ask you guys, please, if you want to just play jokes and stuff, please don't do that. 714-552-5647. That's my cell phone number. I'll give it out because it's more important to hear from someone who's struggling than someone who's just going to call me up and say that I'm gay or something like that.
Exactly.
And I ask you not to do that, please.
No, I understand. Casey, thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview today. Your story is amazing, and it's going to resonate with someone, and that's why we do this. And really, thank you so much.
I can't thank you guys enough, and keep doing what you're doing. You're helping a lot of people, and thank you so much. You're a Pulitzer.
Thank you. I want to thank you for listening today. I thoroughly enjoyed talking to Casey Armstrong. His story is harrowing. It got so bad for him. I truly think it's a miracle that he's still alive, but I think that he's still alive because God had a purpose for him to do what he's doing now, which is helping tell the story of amazing people. And I just think that that's huge. Once again, his radio station is WMAP, World's Most Amazing People. And you can go to WMAPradio.com if you want to listen to his program. And I'm thinking it's got to be good. Just a last-minute reminder to please subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, find us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and ring the bell, which will let you know when we have a new episode. Thank you again for listening. We'll talk to you again next week.
You have been listening to the Addiction Podcast, Point of No Return, sponsored by Narconon Ojai. For more information on Narconon Ojai, call 866-231-5924 or visit www.narcononojai.org. Narconon is a non-12-step rehabilitation program based on the works of L. Ron Hubbard.